Hello everyone, this is Khushi Modi from Elite Learning, and today we would be looking at the IELTS speaking tips. I'll be giving 15 tips that will help you score 7 plus bands. I have personally given IELTS examination and I was able to score 8 bands in my speaking module. And with that experience and with the teaching experience that I have noted down few things and I would be sharing it with you to help you boost your score. Trust me, speaking is the easiest module. Listening and speaking are the easiest modules of IELTS. Listening is the scoring one, of course, and the easier one. And speaking, you just get marks for answering the questions, for where do you come from, or what subjects are you studying, or please describe your hometown a little. Probably for answering these simple questions and few of course the difficult ones as well, you get marks for your speaking. So isn't it very easy? I am going to give you few tips which is going to make your speaking very easy. So to start with, the first thing that we need to keep in mind is you have to have a practice of common introduction questions that are going to come. So the first question would be, they will obviously have your passport details with them. Okay. So the first question that they would be asking you is, where do you come from? So you make sure that you prepare this question very well. The second question that they would be asking you is, what do you do? You're working or studying? This will be the second question that they would be asking you. So you also have to make sure that you practice this question. This question is asked only to know whether they have to ask you questions related to work or study. So you don't need to be elaborative in your answer. So probably when I gave my examination, I probably spoke uh, I have recently completed my graduation. I've recently completed my post-graduation in Human Resource Department. I think I spoke this. I don't remember exactly. But yeah. So whatever your last education is, master's, bachelor's or whatever it is, you have to just speak that. So, and then you don't have to be very elaborative in your answers. I've studied my this from this school, from this and that. No, in this stream, no. You don't need to give that much, those many details. You just need to be specific for answering this particular question. Apart from that, it is very, so the first tip, I would be noting down all the tips so that it becomes easy to understand. Practice the common intro questions that you would be getting. Okay. Now the second tip is, it is very important to be natural while you are speaking. You have to make sure that you take pauses as and when required. When we are speaking in our regional language, may it be Hindi, Gujarati or whatever, so we tend to take pauses to think, to speak. We don't speak like Betty bought a bit of butter, but the bit of butter was bitter, so Betty bought a better bit of butter to make the bitter butter better. Right? We don't speak like this. We take natural pauses. We have exclamations. We have expressions. So these are the two tips that are important. That is, it is also very important that you use your expressions. While I gave my examination in the time of COVID, I had my mask on and I gave my examination like that. It was in the year 22 or 23, 23 I suppose. I don't remember that. But yeah. So the second and the third tip is, you have to take natural pauses that will come under speed, that you don't have to be very speedy, and you have to use non-verbal communication, that is expressions. When we talk in our regional language, Hindi, Gujarati or whatever, we tend to use these. I am calling my forehead. I'm asking you to use your forehead to answer the questions. You can probably raise your eyebrows for few questions, and you can take another other gestures while you're speaking. So it is very important to use these things while you're giving your examination. It shows the examiner how naturally you are speaking. It shows the examiner that you have not memorized the answers. It is very important. See, it is your English proficiency test. So it is very important that you give your what you are aware about in the English language. So you have to give the exam, you have to prove your English to the examiner. It is not a knowledge test. It is purely an English test. So you have to tell the examiner how in the best way can you use the English language. Okay, moving forward, students often have a complaint that after I answer a specific question, they ask me why. Why? So this is the only reason for this is you don't answer the questions at length. At length is you have to provide satisfactorily, you have to give your answers satisfactorily to help the examiner understand that you have answered all the parts of the question and that you have answered them correctly, right? So it is very important that you give answers at length. I am not asking you to give a thesis kind of an answer, a very long one, no. But it should be like at least 3 4 sentences like that, so that the examiner understands everything related to that question which you are trying to answer. Apart from that, it is also very important to have voice modulation in your speaking. What is voice modulation? वॉइस मॉड्यूलेशन इज हम एक ही पेस में, एक ही टोन में, एक ही व्हाट कैन आई कॉल इट, एक ही आवाज में हम नहीं बोल रहे हैं. थोड़े ओके, फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स टेक अ क्वेश्चन and I will show you what voice modulation I'm talking about. Okay, so for example, okay, your follow-up question is noise a common or serious concern in India? For example, this is your question. This is a follow-up question, right? Is noise a common problem in India, or is noise a serious problem in India? Well, I think noise is a really common concern in developing country like India, because it is overly populated is what I feel, and people often tend to be very impatient while they are traveling, especially while driving. So honking and busy streets are really common in India. So I was not speaking at the same tone. At few words I stressed. So this voice modulation is what I'm talking about. Band descriptors. What are the 4 band descriptors of speaking? Fluency and coherence, pronunciation, lexical resources, and grammatical range and accuracy. So it is very important that you are fluent and you pay good attention to all the band descriptors while you are practicing. And it is very important to keep them in mind while you're framing your answer. I often get doubts from students that, ma'am, if I do not understand a specific question, or if I'm not really sure, if I don't have an opinion, at times there might be questions where you will not have opinions for. For example, mm, do you feel uh, do you feel that youngsters these days are more involved with computer games? For example, this is the question: do you think youngsters these days are more involved with computer games? So for answering this particular question, if you do not um have any thoughts about it, or probably you want some time to think, so what you can do to buy time for yourself, you can say, well, I'm not sure. Okay, so see, I will provide you the entire answer for this particular question. You will have what all things you need to notice. You need to notice my expressions. That is very important, which I forgot to mention. Expressions, my voice modulation, tone, answer, of course, and how I buy time for myself, right? So I'm starting. Well, I have never given it a thought. I am not really sure because I'm not involved much with youngsters these days after I left my college and my school. But I think probably so. In this, I think I took around 5 or 7 seconds or 10 seconds, let us say. So you get this time to think what you can speak. I don't think I have an opinion for that. I don't think I have an opinion for that. But I feel that youngsters, teenagers especially, are more involved with computer as compared to the elder generation. And they are more getting, I feel, addicted to these devices, which is not going to be beneficial for their future. Probably this can be your answer, and probably if you want to add one or two more lines to it, you can also add that. So this is what you can do to buy time for yourself. You will do this only in questions where you feel that you do not have specific answers for them. Also, you need to make sure that, of course, you would be practicing for quite a long. So you don't, your speech should not be such that it feels that you have memorized specific answers. So you have to be very sure that you speak naturally. And even if And even if you have practiced a couple of times and you are not, you have a very ready answer for it, but you need to take that pause and that pace is what I would say to answer the question, right? Now coming to the next is cue card. In cue card, see, generally students have the habit of seeing the question, sub questions. Okay, so one general way of answering cue card is, okay, so for example, the question is what, how, why, when. For example, any specific question. Okay, for example, describe a photo that you took of that you took and are proud of. For example, this is the cue card, right? And these are the sub question. Oh, okay, what will not be the sub question in that case? How was the photo taken? Why did you take it? When did you take it? Where did you take it, for example? For example, this is the question, right? This would be the cue card and the sub questions like this. So what habit students have is, I will write X over here, Y, Z over here, A, B 2 points, C, D 2 points over here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Students have the habit of writing like this. This is completely incorrect. Stop at the first place. It is very important that you learn how to take notes. While I gave my examination, I didn't even see what were the sub questions. I will teach you a very easy and effective way of answering cue card. It is that invest more time in thinking, lesser time in writing. This is the key of solving cue card. Because you'll only have 1 minute. Trust me, in my examination, I just probably wrote 5 words. Okay, so my question, I remember my question was, describe a time you tried something for the first time and were successful. At that time, it was not in my makar. It was out of the makar question. So it was out of the list of that question. Probably it must be there in the previous or the later one. I am not sure. But in that particular makar, during that time, it was not there. So I wrote mother's birthday, cake, muddle headed. I am very specific about vocabulary. Tried my hand. This is an idiom. And one more thing I wrote, like, this is the only thing that I have written in the I will not call it supplement, in the paper that they provided to me. These are the only words that I had written over there. And I had just thought that I would say I made it was my mother's birthday. I was really confused as in what to gift her, because she has everything. That is what I feel. And then I went on my story and I said that my neighbor makes a specific cake. I think I told some brownie, or I don't remember what cake I told. I said that my neighbor makes a specific cake and she really loves it. So I decided that I'll be making that particular cake for her. Initially, I was very confused. Initially, I was very nervous because I was not sure I was going to make cake for the first time in my life. I had never tried my hand over baking cake, baking. So I had never tried my hand over baking, and then I continued further like that. So it is very important to invest more time in thinking and lesser time in writing. So the next tip is, note taking has to be minimal. Invest time in thinking. These words also had written so that I don't forget what I am going to speak. Otherwise, I would not have taken it that way. So, students, when speaking cue card, are often, they tend to go, probably their linking is not there, or probably they deviate from the topic. So to avoid this, I always suggest students to formulate a story. The way I formulated my mother's birthday, I went to my neighbor. I took recipe from her. The next day she went to my grandmother's place. So I made the cake. I brought all the ingredients. I started at so and so time. I ended at so and so time. It took me more than 4 hours to bake that cake. I was really confused whether it was good or not. So in short, I had made the entire frame that I would be speaking this. After this, I'll speak this. After this, I'll speak this. After this, after that. So it is very important to make a story so that your linking of the content is there. Yeah, formulate a story. Students, while saying cue card, often tend to stop before the examiner tells you to stop. So you have to avoid that. You don't have to stop. Don't stop before the examiner stops you for cue card. You just have to go on speaking everything. Whatever is related to the question, you can just continue speaking on that. Don't stop before the examiner stops. It is you, if you are very sure and if you want to go 7 plus, you will have to use idioms. So you have to be familiarized with few idioms, few common idioms that are there, idioms and phrases. Like I said, I used tried my hand over. So that is an idiom. So any such idiom, it is good if you can use. Of course, band, in the band descriptors, LR lexical resource is a band descriptor. So you need to focus on using good words, synonyms and idioms while you are giving your speaking. Another important tip is understanding of the question. Understand the question properly to answer, so that you can answer properly. At times students do not understand the question and they answer completely something else. So this is really not good. So you have to pay attention to what the examiner means. This generally happens in follow-ups when students are not really sure of the question, they do not understand at times. You can ask the examiner. This is one more key of buying time. Could you please repeat the question? And then you can say, I'm not really sure. I've never given it a thought well, but I think, and so you get that time to think for yourself. So this, of course, this cannot be done for each and every question, but at least for one or two, you can ask the examiner to repeat the question. Could you please repeat the question? And then you can use these fillers. Fillers are very negative. See, pauses are important. Fillers would be negative pauses. So that is something you should avoid. And the last tip is be confident while you're speaking. Whatever, no matter what you are speaking, be confident when you are speaking. And that will affect your fluency at a very greater extent. Your fluency will be extremely affected when you're confident. So it is very important that you follow everything while you are doing your speaking. Be confident in whatever you speak, so that you're able to score properly. I hope I hope all the tips are useful to you, and these are tried and tested ones. I have personally given the examination, so I know it. So all the very best. If you have any doubts, queries, you can type them in the comment section and let us know. We will surely help you. All the very best for your speaking examination.